Hey guys, Jack on Wrist here, back with another video, and in today's video I want to do a state of the collection video. I haven't made one of these videos in a long time, and I don't foresee my collection changing for quite a little bit of time. Plus there are some big additions that I want to show off, so I thought this would be the perfect timing to go ahead and make this video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this video started. First up here is my 1981 Omega DeVille, and this watch is extremely special to me for a couple of different reasons. Firstly, this was my first ever real wristwatch. I got this watch from my grandmother, and it was originally my great-grandfather's, and if I didn't get this watch that day from my grandmother, I don't think I'd be here making this video today. When I looked up the name Omega and learned their significance on the watch world, and then learned about the significance of watches on the world in general, that is what originally blossomed my interest in this hobby, and I can't thank my grandmother enough for giving me this watch and starting this passion within me. Beyond that, this watch is really cool and unique. It's a little gold dress watch, and it's quartz, which is already kind of an interesting combination, a dress quartz watch. But beyond that, it's really cool with the pusher at the 3 o'clock, which is something I've never really seen before in watches. I mean, I've seen pushers before, obviously, but not as a pure way to change the time on a piece like this. And so I really like it. I think it's really unique, really special. I also don't really wear a lot of little dress watches and gold watches in general. And so for me, it's really cool to have a little bit of a dynamic shift in my collection, something I can throw on and not only remind me of my family and my legacy, but also just the idea of having something different. I also just recently threw it on this leather strap from Deluxe, which is a really nice piece. I would certainly recommend the brand. This video is not sponsored by them at all, of course, but just really like their straps. They're a little pricey, but certainly deliver it in quality. So glad to have this piece on a strap that is worthy of its meaning to me. And yeah, that's the first watch here, my Omega DeVille. Next up here is my Hamilton Fontaine Blue, dating back to 1969. And this watch is really cool as well. I think it's really unique, similar to my Omega DeVille, something that you don't normally see due to its unique case shape. And I think in a world today where you can get just about anything on the internet and there's lots of cool, unique designs that are being pumped out left and right, I think this still really does stand out and is still really unique. And I haven't really gotten this watch serviced and properly treated the way it should be, but I think it's certainly a really cool piece, and I think it should be appreciated more. I haven't really seen much of this on the internet. I know there is a slightly more popular version of this watch, the Hamilton Fontaine Blue chronograph, which is very, very cool, and I definitely recommend you look that up. But this is still a very cool piece to me. This was another sort of hand-me-down legacy piece from my family, and I'm very lucky to have it. I'm looking definitely to service this in the near future. And like I said, another watch that is unique, and I don't wear it too often, but I like throwing it on to kind of change up from what I normally wear. It's really cool and different and really fun. So definitely a unique piece, and glad to have it, my Hamilton Fontaine Blue. Next up here is my Seiko Quartz 7N43, and this is a pretty cool watch in my opinion. This was actually given to my grandfather originally by someone in the Seiko family, and it was passed down to me, and despite it being nothing overly special, I know it's really just a Datejust styled Seiko Quartz watch. I still think it's very cool. I love the little backstory to it, having direct ties to the Seiko family, and I think it's definitely a cool watch. I mean, hey, it looks like a Rolex Datejust, so hard to really dislike it. I took it off its original Jubilee style bracelet to give it a little bit more of its own character, but really cool piece, very clean looking, date, and something that I really appreciate, knowing that this was my grandfather's and that he used to look at this watch every day and wore this for a long time. So to be able to have it is very special to me. I know so far this video has been a lot of sort of hand-me-down pieces, but they will always be in my collection and I'll always appreciate them. So glad to have them and glad to always talk about them. Stepping away now from the pieces that were handed down to me, this is my ultimate grail watch, and I'm so happy to finally have it. This is my Rolex Explorer reference 114270, and I lusted after this watch for a very long time, and I'm so lucky to finally have it. I've had it for a couple of years now, and I've worn it most days since, and this is just, for me, the pinnacle of watchmaking. I know there are lots of way more complicated pieces out there than this, but to me, the combination of elegance and versatility and class that this watch has is just so special, and I really enjoy putting this on every single day. I love looking at it. And I've never had a watch like this where I put it on literally every single day of the week sometimes, and I just love it no matter what and never get sick of it. So I think that really tells me that I have knocked it out of the park and really found the watch that's for me. And this is, in my opinion, the crown jewel of my collection. Certainly the most expensive, but also, in my opinion, just the coolest to me. And so I really, really like this, and I hope one day I'm remembered for owning this watch, and my kids will hopefully have this, and hopefully they'll remember me by this piece. Of all my watches, this is the one. So really, really like it. I also put on the extension link on this watch from the brand Steel Reef. I made a video about this, and it makes this watch even more wearable. And I love its sort of neo-vintage vibe. It is one that has solid end links and solid feeling mid links, and sort of that old school vintage style clasp. And so to me, it's kind of a perfect combination of everything. And like I said, I'll never get sick of this watch. So very, very lucky to have it. And, I really don't have any other words. I love my Rolex Explorer. Next up here is my Casio G-Shock GWM 5610. And I got this watch about 4 years ago now for the holiday season, and it has been an absolute beast for me. I know almost every single watch collection YouTube video talks about how every collection needs a G-Shock, but it's really hard to disagree, especially once you finally own one and see how durable and versatile they are in terms of usability. And I just can't express how important it is to have one of these watches in your collection, at least in my opinion. I've really leaned on this watch a lot over the past few years, and it's just really awesome. I love this particular model because it has sort of that vintage or original style of G-Shock to it, while still having some modern functionality with the multiband 6. Like I said, I think it's really cool. I know G-Shock and Casio in general has really been innovating a lot, and they're doing a lot of different stuff with their G-Shock models, but I think you can't go wrong with this sort of more basic version because it really just does everything you'd want in a wristwatch. So can't recommend this enough. You've probably heard that before, but G-Shock's all the way. From one Casio legend to the next, this is the Casio Duro. I got this watch a while back from my wonderful girlfriend, and it has been awesome for me. Very similar to the G-Shock in the sense that it's just a workhorse, there's not much to really dislike about this piece. This one has the metal bracelet, which is a relatively new addition to the watch from my understanding, and like I said, there's not much to dislike. 200 meters water resistant, workhorse quartz movement. It looks pretty elegant because it looks just like a Rolex Submariner in my opinion from a distance, and just something I like to throw on every once in a while, and really, really cool. I'm going to Mexico actually in a month from now and I'm excited to bring this down there because I know it can handle different fun activities and still look elegant enough to be on my wrist for like a nice dinner, so pretty versatile, and really can't beat the price of something like this. This is probably one of the cheapest reliable divers you can buy on the planet. Next up is my new Cartier Santos Galb. And when I say new, I mean new to me, because this is a relatively old watch dating back to the early 2000s. A quartz watch, as you can tell by the ticking second hand. This is a really cool watch. I would say, other than the Rolex Explorer, it was probably my second Grail watch, and I'm so lucky to have it. I just absolutely love the Cartier Santos lineup, and this is probably my favorite iteration of it. And it's really hard to dislike a watch like this. I mean, I know it runs a little small, 29 millimeters on that square case. That definitely wears bigger than that. So it's not for everyone, but I just think it's absolutely stunning. I don't think the camera's really doing it justice. It has sort of like an off-white dial, the blued hands, and it fits perfectly on my 6.5-inch wrist. And I think if you're someone with 6.5 to 7-inch wrist, this really is just money for you. Obviously smaller, looks great as well, smaller than that 6.5-inch size. I saw this on my brother's wrist recently, who has a 7-inch wrist, and I love it. So don't let the size fool you. I think this is stunning, and really glad to have it. And as you can tell, I love quartz watches. It's very popular in my collection. I'm not someone who can really afford servicing of a bunch of luxury watches, so for me this really fits. I love that it's quartz because it's easy to service, and really should just require a battery change if all things go well. And like I said, fits my sort of collecting philosophy as of right now, with quartz as sort of a main emphasis. Beautiful, iconic, and I'm just lucky to have it. So full review definitely coming up soon, and glad I could finally show this watch off to the channel. Yet another watch that I'm not quite sure the camera is really doing justice, but this is my Grand Seiko SBGX 355G, otherwise known as the 9F Snowflake. And this watch is absolutely stunning. I know if you saw my video about this recently, you would have seen the unboxing. And, not much more I can add to it at this point until I get into the full review, but, it is just absolutely stunning. Titanium case and bracelet, which is super, super wearable. Now that I've had this for a little bit of time now, I can say that it is really an awesome daily wear, and not much to complain about here. Like I said, I emphasize quartz watches in my collection for right now, being again a younger guy who can't really afford a bunch of servicing costs, and I really appreciate the accuracy, the artwork, just how amazing the 9F quartz movement is, and the dial is absolutely stunning. And like I said, I really don't think that my camera is going to be able to do it justice, and I'm working on getting a different camera for the channel so I can show off these watches properly, but it is just outstanding. So glad to have it. I know you guys probably saw this recently as a new addition to the collection, and really happy to show it off here, and definitely, again, another watch that needs a full review that's going to come up soon. Next up here is my Bulova tank, and this is another piece that was given to me by my family. Very lucky to have it, but I regret to say I don't know much about it. It's a manual wind piece, and I love its sub-dial for seconds. I love the way it looks. It looks, like the iconic Cartier tanks back in the day. But like I said, don't know much about it, so I'm glad to have a Bulova in the collection. Glad to have something a little different. Happy that this sort of offsets the rest of my collection with a lot of my quartz and steel watches. But again, I'm trying to learn more about this actively. Definitely need to service this watch and hopefully get some information about it when I do that. But just another cool piece. Lucky to have it, and one that I don't wear super often, but love throwing on every once in a while. Next up here is my Casio A178. This is one that I bought a long time ago to be just a work watch, one that I can wear and forget that it's on my wrist and just quickly check the time. That's accurate, and it definitely does all those things, and I think it's definitely cool because it's a little different than the average Casios out there. I know in terms of non-G-Shocks that are Casios that are out there, there's a lot of repeats of what's popular out there, and so to have one that's not really talked about as often with a kind of a cool screen to it, just fun to have. Definitely not particularly expensive, not particularly special in a lot of different ways, but reliable, and one that's still fun to throw on every once in a while if you just want kind of that classic Casio feel. Last but not least is a watch that has quickly become one of my absolute favorites to wear, and this is my Casio G-Shock G-Lide. This is a piece that I received from my wonderful girlfriend again. This is for my birthday, and so huge shout out to her for getting me this watch, and it is just awesome. I mean, this is, in my opinion, a perfect example of what G-Shock and Casio are up to recently in terms of their just changing of the game with their G-Shocks, with their models. I mean, this has a lot of really, really cool features that you would not expect. This particular model was made with surfers in mind, and so you can actually track the moon phase and the tide. But beyond that, you can actually get notifications from your phone on this watch, which again is just something you would not have expected anyone to say, a few years ago. And so really, really a pleasure to wear. It looks chunky, but it wears well on my 6.5-inch wrist. Something that I think Casio does really well in general, making their sort of chunkier looking watches wear well. And love this sort of wolf gray color. It really is a fun neutral color to wear all the time, and really, really special. And yeah, not much more I can say. You guys know how great G-Shocks are, and this is just basically a G-Shock cranked up to 11. And excited to try and explore some of the features on here even more, and have some more wearing time with this. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed, I really would appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. I love showing off my watches, love talking about them, and I'm excited to continue making more watched content soon. And yeah, so would love to hear any thoughts in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys in the next one.